In this episode of Home Theater Geeks, I talk about Sony's 2024 TV lineup. So stick around.
Podcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is TWiT.
Hey there, Scott Wilkinson here, the Home Theater Geek. In this episode, I'm going to talk about Sony's new 2024 TV lineup. Now, Sony didn't mention anything about these TVs at CES, as they used to do. But these days, they have decided not to talk about it at CES, but rather at what used to be called a line show in spring. And they did it this year at the Sony Pictures Studios in Los Angeles. And they finally released what it is that they're going to be talking about and introducing this year. So the whole model nomenclature has changed. Manufacturers like to do that now and again. And this year they have decided to emphasize the Bravia brand. So they're known as the Bravia 9, Bravia 8, Bravia 7, and Bravia 3. And they actually do have model numbers. They're the XR90, XR80, XR70, and S30, respectively. Interestingly, they dropped the letter at the end of the model number. Last year, the letter was L to indicate 2023. The year before that, it was K. So they might have gone to M this year, but they decided to drop that convention and go with something else. They also dropped the first letter in the model numbers. Last year and several years before, they used to have an A something, and that was for OLEDs, and they used to have an X something, and that was for LED LCDs, sometimes mini LEDs. All of them are now XR, XR90, XR80, so on. I think that's a little more confusing, to tell you the truth. It was easier to tell which ones were OLED and which ones were LCD by A and X, but that is no longer the case. Now, they're all based on Google TV for their operating system and their smart features. But most amazingly, I was shocked by this. They did not introduce a new QD-OLED, quantum dot OLED. I thought they would, but they didn't. They kept the A95L from 2023 in the lineup. It's going to continue to be sold this year. Their new flagship, the Bravia 9, is a mini LED LCD. So it's an LCD TV with a mini LED backlight and quantum dot enhancement film for the colors. I believe that they brought this out as their flagship because of its higher brightness than any OLED. Sony claims it'll reach up to 4,000 nits, which matches their new professional monitor, the HX3110, 31-inch professional grading monitor, which also reaches 4,000 nits. Now, if a movie is graded to 4,000 nits peak brightness and it's played on a TV with 4,000 nits peak brightness, there's no need for tone mapping, which is a good thing, ultimately. That's, I think, why they did this, why they went to mini LED LCD for the brightness, for the lack of tone mapping. There are thousands, probably tens of thousands of mini LEDs behind the screen. Sony claimed 325% more dimming zones than the X95L, which the Bravia 9 replaces. Although, as usual, Sony didn't reveal exactly how many zones there were. And it also uses the same XR processor that last year's models used, which is a fine, absolutely great processor. So that's good. They introduced a new technology called X-Wide Angle, which supposedly provides wider viewing angles. You can sit farther off axis and still see a good picture quality. This is the Achilles heel of LCDs, which OLEDs do not share at all. You can sit far off axis in OLED and still looks fine. With most LCDs, they start to look faded and washed out, and it just looks pretty bad. So this technology supposedly improves that. We'll see. I haven't seen it, so I don't know yet. But it would be a welcome thing if it actually works. They also have what they call an X anti-reflection technology to reduce glare in the screen. It has HDMI 2.1 to support 4K at 120 hertz. Not that there's any content at that, but at least they can do it. With variable refresh rate, auto low latency mode. These are both really good for gaming. It has something called source-based tone mapping, which, if it's a 4,000 nit TV, it doesn't even need tone mapping. But it has something that's an HDMI 2.1 feature, which tone maps based on the input signal, what's coming in. It also has Netflix and Amazon Prime calibrated modes. Prime calibration is a new feature this year. Netflix was there last year. And it has an ATSC 3.0 tuner. So, that's pretty good. It has a new acoustic multi-audio plus feature that embeds tweeters firing upwards, as well as side frame tweeters. The speaker system is said to be 2.2.2. So 2 main channels, 2 subwoofers. I wouldn't call them that, but that's what that's supposed to mean. And 2 upward firing beam tweeters, which will simulate Dolby Atmos. It also has what they call a Voice Zoom 3 AI dialogue enhancer, which, if it works, would be a very good thing, because as many of us know, listening to the soundtracks of TV shows and movies, the dialogue can often be indecipherable. And this is supposedly aimed at making it more intelligible. We'll see how well that works. That would be a good thing. It supports Dolby Vision, of course, Dolby Atmos, DTSX, and it's also IMAX Enhanced certified, which is a set of criteria that IMAX has developed. Now, here's something pretty cool. It's got a new stand. So if you're sitting it on a table or a credenza or something like that, it has a 4-way adjustable stand, so that here you can see it. You can lift it up and put the feet wide enough to put a sound bar under it without obscuring the picture, which is pretty cool. If you're going to use a sound bar, sometimes you can't use them with the TV because the TV sits too low, and you put the sound bar in front of it and it blocks part of the picture. So I like that. So that was the flagship. Now we have the Bravia 8, which is an OLED, but it's a conventional OLED. It's not a QD-OLED. It replaces the A80L. It has the same HDMI 2.1 support and stand as the Bravia 9, and it's said to have 10% more brightness, higher brightness than the A80L. It also has the same acoustic surface audio that the A90L and a lot of OLEDs have, which turns the entire screen into a speaker. And that really works well. I do know that for a fact. I have a first generation Sony OLED that audio actually sounds far better than most TV audio. Not as good as a soundbar, not as good as speakers around, but certainly better than most TV audio. And it also has this Voice Zoom 3 dialogue enhancer. So next down the line is the Bravia 7, which is a mini LED LCD. It replaces the X90L. And like the Bravia 9, it has FALD, full array local dimming, controlled by an XR backlight master drive, which they've been developing for some years. And the XR processor has the same HDMI 2.1 features, acoustic multi-audio with voice zoom 3, ATSC tuner, 4-way stand. So what's the difference? Well, I suspect fewer dimming zones and lower peak brightness than the Bravia 9. But it undoubtedly has more zones and higher brightness than the X90L, which it replaces. At the entry level is the Bravia 3, which is a conventional LED LCD without FALD, full array local dimming. It's entry level. It has step-down processing. It has a 60 hertz refresh rate instead of the others, which are 120. No ATSC 3.0 tuner and a single position stand. Okay, so it's entry level. So I made a table of the new and carryover models with prices, which we're taking a look at here, and I want to guide you through a little bit of this. You can see in this table the model line, the model number, what model it replaces, and the type of display it is. And you can also see the prices, the MSRPs. And I lined them up so you could compare 65 inches, 55 inches. You could compare sizes and what the prices would be. And the Bravia 3, the entry level, comes in a much larger variety of sizes from 43 to 85 than the others. Bravia 7 has 4 sizes, and the Bravia 8 and Bravia 9 have 3 sizes. And you can see, for example, 65-inch Bravia 9, $3,300. Bravia 8 65 is $2,800, and the Bravia 7 is $2,300. And the Bravia 3 is $1,000, so that's a lot less. But if you can afford it, I would certainly go with the 7, 8, or 9. And I would go, unless you want super bright, I still prefer OLED over LCD, although I'm going to reserve judgment till I see this X wide angle feature that they have. But if you'll see in that chart that the 55-inch Bravia 8 is $2,000, and the 55-inch Bravia 7 is $1,900. So there's only $100 difference. I would definitely go with the OLED in that case. And you can also see the 3 model lines that have remained, which are the A95L, the QD-OLED. A80L is, even though the Bravia 8 is replacing it, the Bravia 8 doesn't have an 83-inch version, and so they're keeping the 83-inch A80L in the lineup to have an 83-inch OLED. And the X90L is LCD with LED backlights, not mini LEDs, but it does have full array local dimming. And it goes up to 98 inches for $7,000. So if you want a really big TV, that's one way to go. Although at that size, I'm now going to say go with a projector. So in a way, I'm a little bummed that Sony didn't continue its development of QD-OLED, which I still think is the best TV technology today. However, it doesn't get as bright as LED LCD TVs. So if you're looking for brightness, and there are some arguments for it, then this is the direction they decided to go. But in another way, I'm not bummed, because I just bought a 77-inch A95L. It's going to get installed next week, as a matter of fact. And I did that because I don't need the super brightness. Sony's tone mapping algorithms are really good So if I watch a 4,000 nit movie on this TV, which can't go to 4,000 nits, it'll be tone mapped very nicely. And I still think it's the best flat panel technology available today. So I'm glad I got it, and I'm not experiencing FOMO, fear of missing out, of the next model, which is always a concern with consumer electronics. But the Bravia 9 is going to not need any tone mapping. It's going to be super bright. This X wide angle thing might improve the LCD's Achilles heel. Who knows? So we'll see what happens, but I wanted to let you know about the new lineup from Sony, which is always an exciting piece of news. Now, if you have a question for me, you can send it along to htg@twit.tv, and I love to answer those questions on this show. We've got a few coming up, so hope you will send those in. And as always, we thank you for your support of TWiT with your membership in Club TWiT, which lets you come into the chat room, or the Discord channel, and watch us make the show live. You can also see the video. Now, if you're just listening to audio, that's great. We sure appreciate it. But if you want to check out the video and the graphics that I so carefully choose and show you, then come on in and join Club TWiT. We look forward to your membership. So that's it for now. Until next time, geek out.